conversation with Ravi Kumar S, the CEO of Cognizant. Thank you very much, Ravi, for talking to us on Money Control. What have you picked up in your conversations here, Ravi? What's top of mind for clients?
This is what I've been talking about. In the third quarter earnings of Cognizant, we spoke about how we have 100 plus, prototypes running on AI. And the reason why these prototypes are running is because everybody is experimenting. If I look at the strength of Cognizant's strength is all about entrepreneurial spirit. It has client centricity. Remember, we were a company which were born way later than many of our peers, but we kind of progressed much faster because we had the entrepreneurial spirit. So what are clients looking for? Clients are looking for how do you take these prototypes and transition them to production grade work. And there is a challenge. When you actually apply AI to consumer grade work, it's relatively easy. When you apply to enterprise grade work, it is harder. And the 3 or 4 things which come on the way, which clients are looking for. First, the accuracy and the format of these models has to be taken care of. I mean, hallucinations are no longer a bug, it's actually a feature. The fact that it doesn't tee up to past patterns and creates patterns of its own means it can actually tell you things which have not happened before. And that's what you want it to be, but you want it to be accurate. So why are implementations not going to big production scale yet? Why are they just prototypes? Because you don't have the accuracy of the models still, in place. So how do system integrators like us make accuracy of the models very important? Second, the cost performance trade-off. I mean, the cost of compute, the cost of energy, all of that is continues to remain suboptimal in comparison to the performance. So how do you make sure that actually drives? So, again, that's a bottleneck on the way. Skilling is a bottleneck on the way. I mean, skilling is an important part of any technological revolution. That's a huge challenge. The ability to take production grade use cases and make them responsible enough. I mean, explainability, because you're not writing an algorithm to get a logic out of it. How do you make sure that you can create explainability of the output which comes out of generative AI so that can be used as a rationale for the decision making? I think is very important. So these are things, clients are grappling with as they take the prototypes to production grade work. And when that happens, we're going to see a much more mainstream leverage of AI.
Right. Ravi,
It's a phased approach. The first approach is going to be experimentation. The bold ones will take it forward. The second one will be much more steady state implementations. The third one, you will actually embrace it into the DNA and it will be in the muscle of enterprises. That's the 3 phases in which these implementations will go through.
Right. Ravi, I think it's been a year since you took charge as Cognizant CEO. You've, brought in changes with respect to organizational structure, the way you look at your real estate assets and, what your focus areas are going to be and so on. How much of that has fructified? What else needs to be done?
Chandra, I've mentioned this in my earnings calls. India is the fulcrum of Cognizant. We're the second largest employer in India. It's the fulcrum of Cognizant. The heritage of this company has roots in India. India is going to be the future for the company. We all know India's going to play an important role in the next 1 decade. We call it the office of the world. What we did is we kind of took a lot of our infrastructure, distributed infrastructure. We are available in many cities in India. And we started to pivot that into tier 2 cities as well. Remember, during COVID, what's happened, the social fabric of India as it is, a lot of people actually moved back to tier 2 cities to stay with their families and their parents, and they never came back. So we want to take work to where people are rather than bringing people to where work is. And we spoke about going to 4 new tier 2 cities. We announced 2 cities, Bhubaneswar and Indore, in our earnings. And we are now starting to build tier 2 infrastructure, which is going to support tier 1 infrastructure. So we want to be this diverse, inclusive employer in India. And one of the things about diversity and inclusivity is about actually taking work to places where people are available. So we are very, very, very excited about the future of penetrating into the cities in India, the small cities in India, where we get some exceptionally good talent, and it's an opportunity for us to retain, opportunity for us to be flexible. I mean, our own work, our own hybrid work thesis is flexibility is not at odds with productivity. So as long as we can make it flexible enough and still draw social capital, because in the business we are in,
Yeah.
we have school graduates joining us every year. So we need to keep the model flexible, but we need to add social capital. So we want them to come for some number of days to work, but we want to be flexible enough for them to pick and choose. That's why if you look at our diversity ratios, it's the highest in the tech services industry in India. We have a diversity ratio of more than 38% women. And in some centers, our diversity ratio is close to 50%. In Coimbatore, I run 50%. In Kochi, I run 50%. Very close to 50%. Because all of this is going to help us going to tier 2 cities, creating an inclusive culture, figuring out a way to make the work of the future to be flexible enough is going to make us a diverse and inclusive employer. I've spoken about three priorities before, which is to increase our commercial momentum. The second is to be an employer of choice, and the third is to create operational excellence. All three of them are a part of my thesis of how we could make Cognizant go back to the days of good growth.
Um, in terms of the mood among IT companies, so I've been speaking to many of them, from TCS to Infosys to Wipro to TechM, and the broad takeaway that I got is there is a sense of optimism that 2024 will be better, because at some point discretionary spend will come back. Are you also optimistic about this year compared to the previous year? At least a broad indication that I'm getting from CEOs I talk to is that this is likely to be better than 2023.
So, Chandra, I wish I could have answered that question. Because we didn't have our earnings yet, so we are on a blackout period. But the one thing I want to tell you is, um, you know, if you look at the phase we are all in, we are actually navigating a phase of uncertainty and a phase of change. I call it periods of change and periods of uncertainty. In the last 40 to 50 years, there are only very few times people have navigated periods of change and uncertainty together. You've either navigated change or you've either navigated uncertainty. So what clients are looking for is clients are looking for taking cost out and underwriting the savings for the change, which is at this point of time the embrace of AI into enterprise landscapes. So clients want system integrators like us to take the costs out, build the capex cycles by using the dollars to fund the innovation capital needed.
Ravi, the other thing that I want to ask you was, since you joined, you've also one area that you focused on is building the talent pipeline in Cognizant. You've made a lot of senior management hires as well. What do you make of the fact that this hasn't gone down well with your rivals? Wipro, for instance, I think has taken action against its former executives. We did a story recently on Infosys also taking umbrage at the fact that some of their senior executives joined Cognizant. What would you like to say on this?
Chandra, I don't want to comment on those areas, but the one thing I want to say, we want to be an employer of choice. We want to be a magnet for good talent, irrespective of the level. And I want to do my business. I want to be an employer of choice. I want to make Cognizant a vibrant brand. My first option for any leadership role in the company is to look within. And we'll always have gaps. And when we have gaps, we look outside. And I've always maintained that all through my last 1 year, that we want to look inside and then we want to look outside. And in the process, we are able to actually build the leadership team of the future.
Right. Final question, Ravi. You spoke about distributed workspaces, and I think that's something that Cognizant has been doing in terms of exiting some of the owned campuses that you had in places like Chennai. Will that continue? And in terms of return to office itself, what's your long-term
My
view?
long-term view is hybrid. I do believe hybrid is the way.
Would be what?
Hybrid is
People
hard.
coming twice a week
I mean,
or
it
twice
will
a
it
week?
will evolve over a period of time. Hybrid is always going to be harder than remote. I mean, I tell you this, remote was easier than what we thought. Hybrid is going to be harder than what we think because there is going to be heterogeneity, and you have to create inclusivity in heterogeneity because you will have people who are completely remote, you'll have people who will always come to work, you'll have people who will do partially, but you will have to treat them in an inclusive way. In our business, you need the social capital because we have school graduates. Every year we hire from schools. They want to come to office because they would learn. I've learned all my life walking the corridors of companies. So I would say we'll settle down somewhere in the middle. The construct I'm excited about is multifold. One is, you come to offices to build social capital. You take work where people are. Equally, you build collaboration spaces where people will never get connected to physical offices. I mean, I remember the people who moved to tier 3 cities as well. How do they build social capital, culture, and everything else with us? So all of these are integral part of our journey on building hybrid workplaces.
Right. On that note, thank you very much for
Thank you
talking
so
to
much,
us,
Chandra.
Ravi.
Thank you.
Thank you.